The Prestige by Christopher Nolan isn't just a great thriller, it's the greatest thriller in cinema history. If you had to describe it with just one word, what would it be? Revenge? Rivalry? Magic? Maybe confession? Or obsession? As for me, I choose one word: deception. Because this entire movie is built on lies. But how did Nolan fool all of us so completely? The answer is shockingly simple. What if I told you the truth? That the machine, the one said to duplicate objects, cats, and even human beings, never worked. It never did anything. There is no proof it created a single copy. You might think that sounds insane, but you're forgetting the most critical detail. Where does all our information about Tesla, Angier's journey, and the teleportation trick actually come from? From Robert's diary. The very diary Alfred Borden received while rotting away in prison, gifted by a man called Lord Caldlow. At 7 minutes and 36 seconds into the movie, Borden opens it. That's where Angier's story begins. An hour and 24 minutes later, Borden realizes the truth. He doesn't believe a word of it. He decides the diary was a fake, a trick, a lie. Every scene, every event you think you saw with your own eyes came straight from that diary. Borden is the one telling the story. And that diary ends the moment Robert steps into Tesla's machine. That detail changes everything. Now the real question, can we trust the diary? What stopped Angier from making it all up? The truth is, we never tried to find the real answer. Nolan warned us right at the beginning. Are you watching closely? We start searching for clues. But deep down, we don't really want to solve it. We want to be fooled. That's the nature of the trick. If you rewatch the film with this in mind, you'll spot the tiny hints Nolan left for us. I'm not saying Tesla never built a machine. I'm not saying Angier didn't create a new act. I'm saying the machine never duplicated anything. No hats, no cats, no people. The machine was just a brilliant distraction. It pulled all our attention away from the real trick. Angier's final illusion was real. Borden saw it. Hundreds of people witnessed it, and that was the only real magic Robert Angier ever made. The great Danton had always relied on Cutter's tricks and props. He had never invented an illusion himself. But this time, he surpassed everyone. The act of teleportation, the diary, and Tesla's machine, they were just bait. The first part of the trick. The entire movie shows us Robert's transformation. From a damn good actor to the greatest illusionist the world had ever seen. Transformation. That's the second part of the trick. And the final act, the Prestige itself, is Robert's death. The entire movie is one grand illusion. Angier didn't just deceive Borden, Fallon, and Cutter. He deceived all of us. It's time to uncover the true cost of the ultimate trick. And that cost is a life. How many times were we fooled without even knowing it? I promise you, this is going to be very, very interesting. Let's begin. Many viewers believe the final twist of the film is the reveal that Borden had a twin brother, Fallon. Identical, almost impossible to tell apart. But let's start with the most important thing, the proof that Tesla's machine never duplicated anything and never created a single clone of Robert. Throughout the film, we are carefully led to believe that magic could exist. Science, when you can't explain it, doesn't it seem like magic? But there's one huge problem. We have to remember. Nearly everything we know, the majority of the story, is Angier's version written down in his diary, read to us through Borden sitting in solitary confinement. Robert used the diary as bait. His goal was to deceive Alfred, and we, as the audience, had two choices: accept it and be fooled, or start digging for the truth. But for now, let's go back to the magic, to the snowy field far away from the city covered in glowing bulbs. According to Robert, and only according to Robert, this is where he first witnessed real magic. Tesla, Robert says, could perform true miracles. That's why Angier asked the scientists to build him a machine. But if you listen closely, not once in their conversation is there any clear explanation of what Tesla was supposed to create. Only vague, suggestive words. Angier threw down a challenge, and Tesla, unable to resist, built the machine. But what did Tesla actually build? We can only guess. There is no mention of teleportation, no mention of duplication. And if you go back to the hotel scene between Robert and Mr. Alley, you'll notice something crucial. Angier tears out a page from Borden's diary and asks for a machine like the one described there. But what did Tesla build for Alfred? Nothing special, just a prop for a stage trick, a machine that created no clones. Alfred knew he wasn't as good an actor as Robert. He needed something to make his trick more colorful, more spectacular. Sparks, lightning, spectacle. The machine wasn't magic, it was pure misdirection. It captured the audience's attention and made them believe in instant teleportation, because Borden couldn't present his trick as true magic. Now let's go back to Tesla. During the first demonstration of the machine for Robert, nothing happens. We realize that it doesn't work the way it's supposed to. They tested it with a top hat 10 times and nothing. So maybe they needed a different object, something alive, a cat. And yet, the result is the same, nothing. But when Robert steps outside, he sees dozens of hats scattered across the snowy ground and 3 cats. And if I wasn't being so meticulous, I probably wouldn't have noticed. But that scene has so many inconsistencies. First, remember, Allie clearly says they performed the experiment with the hat 10 times. And yet, on the ground, we see over 30 hats, maybe even more. As for the cat, Tesla said it was the first time they ever placed a living being into the machine, but suddenly, there are 2 cats running away and one standing under Robert's feet. 3 cats. Maybe one of them is the original cat from the lab, the one Allie let loose earlier. But where did the 3rd cat come from? According to Robert's logic, the machine doesn't teleport. It creates a copy. 1 copy, and yet there are far too many hats. When Tesla saw the result, he said he needed to fine-tune the machine. Maybe after adjustment, the device began producing only a single duplicate. But I believe Tesla wasn't fixing the duplication itself. He was adjusting the machine to control where the copy would appear. Without that control, the trick would be impossible. The second important detail, the diary's ending. Alfred finishes reading it at the most critical moment, right during the machine's final test. Why would the story stop right there? I believe Borden simply wouldn't have believed what Angier described. And only at the end of the film, when Robert is dying, are we shown what supposedly happened. We learn the truth from Robert's own words about the sacrifice he made. What was he feeling? Fear of being trapped? Fear of becoming the prestige? Once again, we only know this from Robert himself. No witnesses. All his assistants were blind. Cutter was forbidden from going beneath the stage. Only Robert's voice, all of it, the machine, the diary, the tragedy, was bait. Angier's final deception, to make Borden believe that Tesla built a machine capable of duplicating anything. But when exactly did we, the audience, fall for the trick? When did we take the bait? Robert was an actor. He never created tricks himself. Without Cutter, he was nothing. And Borden? He wasn't much of a magician either. His twin brother was the only secret he had. Some magic, huh? But they shared one life between them. That was Borden's true trick, not teleportation. It all began when we first saw the performance of Chung-Ling Soo, the old magician with the fishbowl trick. His secret wasn't just skill, it was total commitment. Even after the performance ended, he stayed in character, hobbling back to his carriage. At first glance, it seems Borden simply copied that idea. He and his twin brother pretended to be one man, living one life, fully devoted to their craft. But even here, we were deceived. At the end of the film, we learned the truth about Robert's identity. He was actually a lord, Lord Caldlow. Angier had been playing a role all along, from a simple stagehand to the great Danton. No wonder he was considered one of the greatest actors in the country. You might say, but the film gave us no hint about that. And once again, I'll tell you, you were not paying attention. You wanted to be fooled. Here's the scene that proves it. Only Julia knew who Robert really was. All this time, Lord Caldlow had been leading us by the nose from the very beginning until the very end, even in death. That's total commitment. In that sense, Robert surpassed Alfred. His performance never ended. Even when the water tank was being wheeled away after the show, that too was part of the act. Robert knew Borden would follow him, watch him, search for answers. So when the props were hauled away, It was still part of the performance. A show. For one spectator. For Borden. But what really happened under the stage? That scene remains one of the most mysterious in the entire film. We are led to believe Robert drowned. Every piece of evidence points to it. The machine works, the body is real. Cutter identifies Angier at the morgue. But think, did Robert use a double? Identifying a corpse isn't easy. People change after death. Their features shift, and a man who had lived through 100 deaths would hardly fight for survival. Why kick the glass if he knows escape is impossible? Instinct. Pure survival instinct. And do you really believe Robert would ever share his secret? Throughout the entire film, he wanted only one thing: greatness, recognition, victory. Money was never his goal. Unlike Borden, Robert was never poor. A man with a lord's title had no need for fortune. So it's hard to believe Tesla really built a machine that worked exactly as described in Angier's diary. And there's another important clue, left by Christopher Nolan himself, right at the end. It happens when Fallon shoots Robert. As Robert kneels, he finally understands Borden's trick. And it's not just about having a twin. The real trick was never about teleportation. It was about two brothers living one life together. That was the true secret of the trick. But Robert answers. He doubts Alfred ever truly understood why they were doing it. The audience always knows the truth. The world is too simple, too miserable, too stripped of magic. But if you can fool them, even for just a second, you can make them wonder. It's all about the look on their faces. But look at Alfred's face. There's no wonder in it. And Angier, before dying, admits once again, there's no real magic. He managed to fool everyone. Then we are taken back to the very beginning of the film where Cutter explains the three parts of every magic trick: the pledge, the turn, and finally, the prestige. At the same time, we see the fire raging, and again, the voiceover speaks. This is the moment when you start searching for the answer, but you won't find it, because you don't really want to. Nolan shows us the hats, scattered across the ground. He's pointing us toward the real answer, but you don't want to see it. You want to be fooled. Then, the reveal, the water tank. And I truly believe the great Danton did create the trick of his life, a secret he took to his grave. Everything else was misdirection. He wanted to beat Borden so badly that he wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty. And it's very unlikely he would simply reveal the truth behind his masterpiece. He planned everything. He knew Alfred wouldn't be able to resist, that he would come down beneath the stage, and that's where he drowned his double, right in front of Borden's eyes. That's why the man trapped inside the tank kicks and struggles. That's why in the end the copies we see are just props. Mannequins. What made me think that? Christopher Nolan himself. In interviews, journalists asked, why is The Prestige officially labeled a drama thriller and not a science fiction film? And Nolan answered directly, there's no science fiction in The Prestige, unlike in Christopher Priest's novel. But what about the machine, the one that supposedly created copies? Nolan said, did you not understand? The machine never created anything. After hearing that, I knew I had to dig deeper. The book and the film are completely different beasts. I didn't even try to use the novel to find answers, because it simply doesn't work. If you analyze the movie script, you won't find any missing pieces either. Nolan translated the screenplay onto the screen almost perfectly. No missing scenes, no lost dialogue, which meant the truth had to be found another way. The Prestige uses the idea from Christopher Priest's novel, but builds its story on real history. The story of Chung Ling Soo, the same old man we see performing the fishbowl trick. In reality, Chung Ling Soo was a character, a stage persona created by William Robinson, a white man who disguised himself as a Chinese magician to profit from the public's obsession with the exotic. Robinson lived as Chung. He never broke character, never revealed his real identity, even off stage. He died in March 1918 during a failed performance of the bullet catch trick. Someone had placed a button inside the barrel of the gun. In the original novel, there are 2 diaries as well, but in the film, they are read simultaneously. The editing and structure of The Prestige are absolutely flawless. Alfred and Sarah are hanged. Angier and Julia drown, live birds in cages, giant tanks filled with dead bodies, double-sided coins, 146 time jumps, hundreds of hidden details. The screenplay took 6 years to complete. Christopher Nolan is the future of cinema and the prestige. It is the greatest thriller ever made. Oh, and by the way, you'd know exactly what my daughter said about it if you also studied English at Wall Street English, so don't forget to check out the link and finally start learning English. But back to the film, The Prestige has already been dissected countless times. Every movie blogger brought their own theories to it. For example, the channel Chibi-U suggested that Fallon wasn't Borden's twin, but a clone created by Tesla's machine. Honestly, I think that theory is just dumb. At the very beginning of the movie, Borden already talks about his trick, meaning he always had a twin brother. This theory isn't just a stretch, it's pure nonsense, but the video itself was really cool. I hope this video will be just as interesting for you. Honestly, a friend of mine came up to me and said, "Why don't you break down The Prestige?" I told him there's nothing left to break down, and he said, what about Nolan's words? That the machine didn't duplicate anything? And that got me thinking. I rewatched the movie with that in mind, and that's how I found so many hidden clues. But the most important thing, I hope my theory gets you thinking too. If it does, let me know in the comments what you believe. See you soon.